Hello, this is Tracy, the Artsy Gardener. Thank you so much for watching. In today's episode, we will be overwintering elephant ears. So this is one that I have potted in my backyard. I do want to save those marigolds, so you'll see at the end, I do end up saving them, and then I plant them in my front window beds. So I'll show you all of that later, but let's get on to the elephant ear and how to winterize it. Holy moly, look at this root system. Like you'll see with my other elephant ears that I end up digging up that were in the ground, the root system looks nothing like this. This is insane. With the potted elephant ear, I do want to be as gentle as possible just because I am saving those marigolds. I do want them to grow in my front window boxes. I said beds before, but they're actually the boxes. So I do want to save them. But look at this like little guy right here that I'm going to be potting up in another planter that I'll be putting inside my home and winterizing it inside my home. These marigolds I did buy in a cell pack and they did really well. I'm really surprised. My dad this year, he grew marigolds from seeds and his are so impressive. So I'm actually going to try to collect the seeds once they do start dying out, once winter really or fall really hits and the weather temperatures really drop. In this pot, I did only plant one elephant ear tuber, and it was a propagation from an elephant ear that I had bought a while ago. And from this one tuber, I'm getting like 3 or 4 different tubers out of it. So to me, this guy did really good. So I'm going to save the other two, and this one I will be overwintering in my garage in a nice dry climate. So this is what I do. I just cut off all the roots, just like so. I do try to cut off all of the roots as possible just because they are going to dry out anyway and die off, so I might as well cut them off. And I don't want added moisture when I am storing them. So I want it to look kind of like that. So to cut off the stalk part, I was trying not to sound Long Island and say stalk. So instead it made it sound funny. But the stalk part, I just use a knife, a kitchen knife that's now been just donated towards garden stuff. And these little guys, I'm going to pot up and overwinter in my house because they're quite lovely. And I mean, I could save the tubers, but they're gonna look better right now, I think, in my house. So that's what I'm gonna do. These little guys got a pretty good root system, so that one pot that I wanted to use isn't going to work. So I'm going to have to just use one of these plastic pots that I had gotten from the nursery, and it'll work. And maybe I'll get a cover pot for it. Here I am planting up the little guys that I'm going to be overwintering in my house. I am just using the same soil that was outside that it was growing in. I know that I should be adding new soil in because a lot of nutrients was lost, but I really did fertilize this guy pretty good during the summer, and he's only going to be overwintered during the winter in my house, so I'm okay with it, and then come spring, I'll really feed him good. And this is what he looks like all finished. I think he looks pretty darn good. So this plant now looks like a $20 plant from the nursery, and I got them for free, so I'm pretty happy. And those are the marigolds that I took out of my elephant ear pot, and I'm going to be putting them in my front window planters. I've been gardening for about 3 years now, so it's always a lesson in learning for me with my garden. So one tuber that I bought about 3 years ago turned into 7 tubers. So I planted those 7 tubers throughout my front yard, and then I planted this guy in the ground in my backyard, and then the other one was in the pot that I just dug up. This guy didn't do too well. I think it might be because of the root system of the tree, because it does get really great lighting there, so I'm not really sure why he didn't grow. So next year I will not be planting an elephant ear in this spot. Definitely check out one of my next episodes because I will be planting a lot of tulip bulbs. And this root system of this elephant ear was like nothing. So I was able to just cover up the hole with my foot, which was pretty spectacular. All right, so now onto the front yard. So that one over there that you saw was by like my water hookup and everything. I didn't want to waste too much time there because it is an eyesore. But that guy over there, look how big he is. And then I have two more over here. I have one right there and then one right there. So I am going to be digging up all of these elephant ears. It's kind of bittersweet because I am in love with them, but since they are tropical plants and I am in a zone 7, I do need to dig them up before the first frost, or else I think it just will affect the tuber and then they're done and I won't even be able to have them for next year. You'll notice as I dig up these elephant ears, it's really not that hard. I just want to make sure that I avoid the tubers and just dig a little hole on each side and then it easily lifts out of the ground. Like, look at that. It really was that easy. And look at the root system. It's not overly stringy with roots. Is that even a word? That's stringy with roots. It's not too rooted. So it's very easy to just pull out of the ground. Look how easy this is. I mean, I did speed it up a little bit, so it definitely looks like that I'm like super amazing. But at the same time, it was less than 30 seconds of me being able to pull that out of the ground. Pretty spectacular. This elephant ear is my favorite, or was my favorite, I should say. He grew the fastest and the biggest, and he was the easiest to take out of the ground. So it was really sad having to take him out. Like, I'm really sad here. And it was like, it broke my heart. But you know what? I know that come September, not September, come spring, once I plant these guys again, they'll have their new life, and it's like a reincarnation for them. But here they are. I mean, how sad is this? They're just laid out like that. It just looks like plant bodies and it makes me sad. But again, they're going to be reincarnated. That's how I'm going to go about this because it'll make me feel better. As you can see here, that it will be quite easy to divide this, that I will have two separate tubers from this. Actually, three. Look at that little guy right there. That little guy I'm going to be putting in a planter in my house just because, yeah, that tuber I think will just be too small and I might as well try to give him life inside my home. These elephant ear tubers look great, and look at all these that were sprouting out, new growth, amazing. Like this, it's bittersweet seeing them like that. I mean, I'm so proud of them because look how big they are. They are so beautiful. I'm in love. I'm in love with them, and I can't wait for next year now. All right, so I'm a crazy plant lady. Like, look how spectacular all of these elephant ears in this one pot looks. It's like a proud plant mom moment right here. Like, I grew this from tubers. Like, it's huge now. And now I'm like murdering them. But it's really not. I'm saving them because they can't grow in the winter here. They will die. So I just have to cut off the stalks, save as many of the little propagations as possible. Those little ones I will be water propagating in my house. I'll show you later how I do it. But here I am. I'm just getting rid of the stems or stalks. And again, it's bittersweet, but it is what it is. And I know that I'll have these guys again in another form next year. Okay, so let's get into it now. So these are the tubers. I like to clean them up as best as possible by getting rid of as many of the roots as possible and then getting off as much soil as possible. I do not rinse them. Some people do rinse them to try to get off as much soil as possible, but my whole thing is the soil's going to dry out eventually anyway. So I want to get off as much as possible. Even some of the layers of the elephant ears, I try to take that off too, because I don't want it to have moisture, because I do want them to dry out. And then once they dry out, they'll be ready to go. If they do have too much moisture, mold might happen. That did happen to me on, I think, 2 elephant ear tubers last year. So if they get the mold, you can't plant them because they're done. They get soft and they're not viable tubers to plant. To me, it's worth it to take this time to take these steps, cut the roots off, get as much soil off as possible, because it'll save the tuber from getting mold. And to me, I'm willing to take those steps. And you know what? It's kind of like therapeutic doing this in a weird way. I guess all of gardening is very therapeutic. So I am just going to leave this of me just clipping it up because I'm a very visual person. So when I was first learning how to do this, I watched tons of videos on how to winterize elephant ears. So in this, if you want to watch, keep watching, but it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be me cutting the roots and then breaking off any growth that is a viable tuber that I can then plant next year. So here I am. I'm going to show you how I split off the new growth from the big original tuber. I just pop it right off. If they give me a little trouble, I try to just leave them on because I don't want to break it, because once it breaks, it might still work as like a new growth come spring, but I don't want to take that chance. Like you'll see, I give it a little wiggle, and if it's not working, I just leave it because you know what? It'll make an even bigger, better plant in the spring when I plant it. But if they do pop off, then I have a new plant and it's like bingo bango, best thing ever. Here I am taking off the new growth. I want to make sure that I get some of the roots. I do cut off the roots, but I want to make sure that I do have some roots on the new growth that I'm going to be saving, because then I know when I plant it, it will grow because it has roots. If anything has roots, especially elephant ears, they're going to grow. They want to grow. I mean, once you put them in the ground, just make sure that you water them really good because they do like water, but well-drained water. I'm going to show you one more tuber that I'm going to take off the new growth. And sometimes you got to use a little muscle, not too much, because you definitely don't want to snap it. Because as I said, I do like to try to leave a little root system just so I know that it will grow. So I just gently break it apart like that, and then I will trim up those roots just so that they look nice and tidy. That's pretty much. So I was able to get 14, nope, 14, 15, 16, 17 or 18 new tubers that I will be able to plant in spring. So this is how I go about drying out my tubers and winterizing them. I let them dry out in the sun for about a day, but I'm just going to show you guys. I wrap them in newspaper and then put them in a paper bag. Then I keep them in a dry, dark place like either a basement or a garage, as long as the garage doesn't get to freezing. So now let's move on to my front window beds. I know they're quite scary, and I'm going to be planting them with the marigolds that I rescued from my elephant ear pot that was in my backyard. So first I'm just breaking up the soil, taking out the dead stuff, and then I will be replacing the marigolds. I do want the marigolds to go to seed so I can collect them. So then next year I will sprinkle it all over. They say marigolds are good to repel mosquitoes. I did not notice that this year with the mosquitoes, but I've heard from everyone that mosquitoes were just really bad this year, but I feel like they're really bad every year. But I'm still going to save the seeds, and hopefully if I plant enough marigolds, maybe the mosquitoes will get the picture and maybe just hang out at my neighbor's yard instead of mine. I've been really trying to save money lately, and especially in the garden. Everything is costing so much money lately, so I'm trying to reuse as much as possible. So, for me to be able to replant these marigolds and use them in my front window planters really makes me happy and makes me proud of myself because I didn't need to buy anything, even though I kept saying, oh, I gotta go buy like the nursery or Home Depot or Lowe's and pick up some nice fall flowers to go in my front garden planters or my front window planters. So I was able to reuse these. I mean, they're not the fullest, most eye-catching planters, but you know what? It works. It looks 20 times better than those dead things that I had growing in there, and it was totally free. So win-win, win-win. It is fall and the temperatures are dropping, but you do have to water it in. So I have been taking the time to water them since I've planted them, and so far, so good. Here are the marigolds all planted up. I'm very happy with them. And here is what I planted up from the elephant ears. This is what looks good right now. This is the water propagation. That was once I did it, and now look at them. This is 3 days later. They are not looking good. So my experiment for this is a failing grade because they do not look good. The water propagation just looks like I left it out in the desert. And the ones that I did pot up, I do see some growth trying to unfurl, like some leaves trying to unfurl, but they're not looking good. Look at this crispy critter right there in the water. Like, they're not happy, so I might have to just take those tubers and winterize those as well. Sadly, this is a sad showing. But thank you so much for watching. If you've made it all the way up to the end, maybe you liked it and you want to give it a thumbs up this video, and I would greatly appreciate that. I'm Tracy. I'm the Artsy Gardener. I'm an artist. You can find some of my art for sale in my Etsy shop, the Artsy Gardener 29. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And if you're not out there doing something artsy, make sure you go out there and do something artsy today, whether it's in the garden or just in your home life in general. Take care. Have a lovely day.